and welcome to my latest video. In this video I'm going to be doing a kit review for the new Kratos tank that Games Workshop sent me. You can see I've built the kit already. There are a few little places here and there where I haven't quite cleaned it up properly. That's not an indication of the quality of the kit, that's just me not having sanded things down or filled gaps properly or anything like that. I just wanted to get it all together fairly well and just so I could do the video. But the kit itself is actually quite nice to put together. There's no like massive seams or anything that are going to take a long time to fill. So in terms of that, it's a really nice kit. It's especially nice because there aren't quite as many pieces as I was expecting. I've also been building the new Plastic Spartan that has a ridiculous amount of pieces in it, whereas this is it's pretty straightforward to build. Now the one caveat to that is if you want to magnetize all the weapon options on this, then obviously there's going to be a lot more pieces, a lot more work involved. But if you just do it like me and just have the one-off kit, and that's how it's going to stay, then you'll probably have a fairly easy time of building it. In terms of the weapons that come with the kit, it has a lot. So to start with, on the hull, so not the main battle weapon, but the weapons on the hull. So you have one either side of the center of the tank. You can have heavy bolters, autocannons, las cannons, and Volkite cavaliers. I think when you when you pay the points for them, you buy them in sets of 2. I'm not entirely positive about that, but I don't think you can have one separate gun compared to the other. It's either 2 las cannons or 2 whatever. The main battle gun that always comes with the coaxial mounted autocannon, but it has 3 options for the main weapons. So you can have the battle cannon that I've used here, the melter blast gun, and the Volkite Cardinal. I was checking the rules out for these, and to be honest, I just went with what I preferred the look of. I know a lot of people like the Volkite for the tomb opportunities, but I just like the long gun for the battle cannon. So also you have sponsons as well. There are quite a few sponsons actually. There's one, I'd say it's a slightly annoying thing on the kit that it doesn't provide, because for the sponsons you have the shield section just to the side of it. So you have all the weapon options, but you don't have enough shields. You only have enough shields to put on the weapon that you're using. So you can't, if they didn't have that, because the weapons are free moving and you can just twist them on and off as you see fit, which is really nice. And it would have been fantastic if there were just enough bits on the kit that you could do that for every weapon option for the sponsons, so you could just swap them out as you wanted without the need of magnets. But because they only have enough of the shield for the weapon for 2 weapons, you can't do that. So actually magnetizing this is going to be quite a bit more work. I'd imagine that, so there's a little sensor on top of the gun and with a like a pole on it, and one that comes in from the bottom as well. So you're basically going to need to use 2 magnets, 2 very small magnets for each weapon, just to be able to swap them in and out. The actual weapons that it comes with though for the sponsons, so heavy bolter, las cannon, heavy flamer, and a Volkite culverin. That's I think a pretty nice option. As you can see, so when you look at the whole kit, just for the standard weapons that come on the tank, so this isn't all the weapon options available, this is just the standard weapon options, but the kit also comes with the tank upgrade sprue. So you can have additional things like hunter killer missiles, searchlights. I know that's not a weapon really, but it's still an option on there. But you've got the pintle mounted weapons as well, so you can have bolter, flamer, melter gun, plasma gun, Volkite charger. You can also have the pintle mounted havoc launcher like I've put on here, and some you also have the option of multi-melter, heavy bolter, heavy flamer. So you can see if you want to add some additional weapons to the kit, you have a lot of weapon options. And also that's really nice as well, because it's just extra pieces that you can use for other vehicles or scenery or whatever, just wreckage. I really appreciate all the extra pieces that are in the kit. There are also the tank, the additional options for the extra tank sprue that does have a Mark II Marine on it, and you can have him set up as like a commander or a gunner, things like that. He looks cool with the Mark II head. Unfortunately, you can't really use him to make a Mark II Marine. Obviously, there's no legs involved, and he doesn't have a backpack either. He has a cable coming out of his back that goes down into the hatch. For my personal opinion, I don't particularly like to use the gunner models on the tanks because they don't really look the right scale to me. I don't feel like they can actually fit through the hatch. But that's entirely up to you if you want to use him or not. I'm going to be using him to make custom Marines with the Mark VI kit, so I can butcher up a few bits here and there and make a unique looking Marine. And that does also have like a few different heads, so you don't just have to use the Mark II head if you don't like it. There are some bear heads as well, and they look pretty cool. And finally, for the extra options, you can also have a dozer blade. This is a really big dozer blade, looks a bit chunky. I haven't used it on this. I think it looks a little bit unbalanced on the kit, but I know quite a few people do like the look of it as well. So again, that's up to you if you want to use it or not. Apart from that, it's a pretty standard kit. All the weapons that you can see on the model, including the light that's a non-weapon, they're all movable. So as long as you've built it correctly, everything can move on its own. I mean, like you have to move it with your fingers, but it's not glued into place. You just have to be a little bit careful with this on the sponsons. It's very easy to get glue on the wrong part, and then you'll fix the weapon into place. What I found, like I accidentally, because I was using very thin glue for putting this together, and it will flow into places that you don't necessarily want it to go. And what I found was if a little bit of glue gets on the wrong part, what you have to do is just keep moving it until the glue dries. Because it's a thinner glue, it dries quicker. So as long as you keep moving it during that period, it'll dry and still be free moving. But all the other weapons, so like the main battle, the battle cannon, that moves up and down, obviously left and right as well on the turret. The autocannon also moves up and down. There's quite a limited range of motion for those, and to be honest, I don't really see the point because you're not going to move it up and down in the game. But regardless, also the light that can move up and down. The only negative I find with all these free moving weapons is that they tend to point down a little bit. Now, Games Workshop have done quite a nice job in terms of the stiffness of the movement. So they will hold their position where you leave it, but as soon as you tap the tank a little bit, the vibrations will cause the weapons to sort of all point down. But the hull mounted, so in this case the las cannons and the battle cannon and the autocannon, those just naturally point down just because the extended length of the barrel, the weight pulls it down. And so I think probably for that, what I'm going to do is just glue them facing forwards, because it just looks a bit silly having them face downwards all the time, just for the sake of being able to say, look, they're still free moving. Now, of course, that doesn't mean to say I'm going to stop them rotating left and right, because that's really nice, but the upwards and downwards thing is not really that useful, I don't think. The Havoc launcher on top, that does not move, and I don't really see a way of making it move, because it just rests on top of the what would be the movement mechanism for it. So it's not actually clipped on in any way, it's just like sitting on there. So if you don't glue that on, it'll just fall off whenever you move the tank. There's no clips or anything, whereas all the other weapons like the sponsons and things like that, the way the kit's designed is that you build those without them being glued in. If you want to magnetize the hull mounted weapons, so instead of say having the las cannons, you go for whatever, the auto cannon or heavy bolter or something, those will be really easy to magnetize. They have a little indentation where you could just, and actually to be fair, they sticking quite stiffly, so if you were just being a bit lazy, you don't even need to magnetize them. like I wouldn't recommend it. It's very easy to knock them off and lose them, but if you were that way inclined, you can just push them in, because they do have a slot to go in and out. Unfortunately, it's a square slot, so if you want to magnetize them, you'll have to drill it or find some square magnets, but presumably you will have round magnets, so you'll need to drill holes in all the weapons. But if someone's used to magnetizing things, that'll be just pretty standard for them anyway. I have made one slight change to the standard look of the kit in terms of the light on mine, and this is just a personal preference. I don't like how all the lights and everything have the grill stuck over the front of them, and the main reason I don't like that is it makes it really hard to paint, because you have to paint each individual small section of the light. So I just cut all mine off, and if you can see there, I know it's facing downwards and slightly out of focus, but my light has had all that shaved off, so it's just like a smooth lens, and that'll be way easier for me to paint, and I think it'll look nicer as well. But again, that's entirely up to you if you want to do that. It's not the easiest, because it's quite, in a quite recessed area with the cover of the light around it. But all you need to do is just get like a scalpel and just cut into these little areas, and then sand it down a bit. In terms of negatives for filling gaps, I mean, you can see a little bit on the back here. There are a few sections where I'm going to have to spend some time filling in certain sections. And also the exhausts, they have... So, I mean, this is going to be common for all types of things, like weapons as well. Anything with a barrel where it comes in two halves, you're always going to get seams down. So that's going to take a little bit of cleaning and sanding, just to get those up to standard. But the gaps, they're really only relevant for that little section at the back near where the engines are, because the kit is designed so it's got quite large sections. So you can see along the side here, that's just one big panel for the side, which is really nice because it means you don't get any join lines. Whereas the Spartan that I'm building, that's not like this. It doesn't have such big sections. Well, I mean, to be fair, I think the Spartan's a little bit bigger and has like larger panel sections, so they have to be done. But there's, I think, like 3 parts to each panel. And they're quite obvious lines on there, so you will have to spend time on that, filling it. Whereas on this, it's much easier. And really, if you're not so fastidious, I mean, if you look at some of the overspill that I've got with glue and stuff on this, it looks worse in the video than it actually is, because once this is covered in primer, even if I just left it as it is at the moment, you wouldn't actually see most of this stuff. It's just the fact that the glue's a bit shinier and like draws your attention. But really, you wouldn't actually notice most of this stuff. It's just like very minor things here and there that I've got to spend a bit of time filling. Also, don't forget this is zoomed in, so you get kind of like an unrealistic view of how big any gaps are or anything like that. But yeah, overall, it's a pretty fantastic kit, and I might even get another one to add to my army. I know it's a bit weird for me talking about army painting, where I'm mostly known for painting display level stuff, but I'm really enjoying getting all my Imperial Fists ready for some battles. But anyway, that's the end of this video. I'm going to get the Spartan video out as soon as I can, and I have quite a few more painting videos to come for my Imperial Fists and for the rest of the legions. I'm not going to forget everyone else, so I'm going to try and paint one model, one Beaky Marine, for each of the legions, just so that everyone can see how to paint an army up quickly, or at least an army of Beakies if you want. Although I might swap out some of the other legions depending on what models I have. But as I said, anyway, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.